What's up guys, Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new test stand video, of course, for Block Dragon BA post-January 2020 Forbidden and Limited list. Now, definitely was not expecting the hit we saw to Sekka's Light. This deck is still 100% playable. Is it a little bit less consistent? Of course, when you lose, Pot of Greed essentially for this deck at 3. Of course, you're going to lose a little consistency, but it is not the end of the world. Of course, we still have 2 Saryuja for the time being to work with. But for this particular video, I'm basically replacing the 3 Sekka's Lights with 3 different spell cards that I think fit pretty well with this deck in this current situation. I'm trying out Card Destruction, Pot of Avarice, and Foolish Burial. I have no idea if these are going to be the final changes I end up going with in the future. Of course, I've already cut the Nessie down to 1 and added in the second copy of the Tour Guide, which is in here somewhere. I've got the Ultra Rare and the Secret Rare. And I'm also trying out Gilasaurus at 2, and also trying 2 copies of both Psychic Tracker and Psychic Wielder, because I wanted to sort of increase my odds at seeing more level 3 extenders later on in the turn, and things like that. I probably will be uploading a new test stand video for this deck very, very soon, maybe within a week or so. Trying a different build, maybe going back to playing Mali and Sulkius, especially with the Avarice, because if you do happen to mill multiple copies of Mali, you can use the Avarice, of course, to put them back. And yes, that is a bit situational, but it's a little bit of synergy that I see there. And of course, being able to get access to that natural Beatrice is always very, very enticing, etc., etc. So I'm going to do a quick pile shuffle here and see what we can make work. Alright, so the deck has been shuffled thoroughly, hopefully, and let's go ahead and draw into our first hand here and see what we can do. So already, looking very, very interesting. We've already drawn our Card Destruction, essentially. Now, I would use this right away, but I kind of want to resolve our Mathematician first. Now, granted, we don't actually have to use the Card Destruction. I mean, our hand has a lot of really good level 3 extenders as is, but I feel like with this card currently, anyways, in my opinion, it's sort of like you use it or you lose it, essentially. Because obviously you'll get the most value out of it at the very, very beginning, but I really don't want to risk ditching our entire hand and drawing into Seer or Graph. So I think I'm just going to start with Mathematician and dump the O-Lion to the grave to be able to special summon a level 3 token. And then from here, of course, we're going to link into Cherubini. Now, Gilasaurus is a card I'm starting to play just because, like I said earlier, I want to start playing more level 3 extenders that are, very accessible at sort of any point in the game, and that aren't tied to, like, RNG, sort of like the Terratop engine, which isn't really too useful if you end up seeing Terratop or Tekatomborg later on in the turn. So just using the Cherubini here now to send the Graft, of course, to be able to use Graft to special summon the Seer. Now at this point, we're going to use the Tracker here. And of course, the nice thing about playing more of these is, you'll see it more often, because the Psychic package is so good in here, and it's Earth, so like what else could you ask for from it, other than just becoming a copy of Gallus, essentially. So we'll mill 3, mill Gilasaurus, Wielder, and Edgemp Sabers. So that's nice. So now at this point, we have the option to be able to use, the Card Destruction, essentially, ditch 2 and draw 2, which could either fix our hand or make it worse, or we could special summon Gilasaurus and stack with Glow Up Bulb, and then go into Saryuja from there. So really, really depends. I think, since either way, we could still get into Saryuja by, using Glow Bulb and Grave to summon out, and then, still having a card in hand to make live with the Sabers. I'm just going to go ahead and Card Destruction here and ditch these 2 cards, and let's see what we can draw into. So I end up drawing into Block Dragon and Jackalope. So let's go ahead and use the Jackalope here and see what we can make work. So odd here, even here. Let's see what we roll. We roll the odd. And I've just had like literally 0 luck on the dangers so far, but it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and get the Sneck out of the grave, and looks like we do have 3 Earths in grave. One, doesn't have to be the Block Dragon, which is nice, or not the Block Dragon, but the Glow Up Bulb. So I'm going to banish the Wielder, the Gilasaurus, and that Mathematician. throw these up here in the center, and we're just essentially off to the races and see what we can make work from here. Now, I've also sort of had maybe some ideas about playing the Hydrolander again, but like it still doesn't seem that enticing, mainly because, you know, the whole graveyard setup, like it's not always consistent to set up that card, and I just sort of like Gizmecha Orochi as an easier replacement because it serves the purpose of being able to help make Dingirsu. While Hydrolander can also mill us additional cards mid-combo, he can also just be a dead card that we draw later on. Now, at this point, let's see if we end up encountering, you know, one of my issues that I've been really, I guess, you know, noticing over the past few weeks. Let's see if we end up getting into that, which it doesn't look like we do. And we also end up drawing into 2 tour guides, which is really, really unlucky. Even though tour guide is, of course, a fantastic card, just would rather not see it at this given point. So here we can put back, definitely the Seer is definitely going back in the deck. Definitely 1 tour guide. And we can also put back the Tracker, essentially. Just because we've already used Tracker this turn. We don't need him right now. We could use the Saryuja effect, though, however. So here I'm actually not going to use the Saryuja effect because I actually don't see any, you know, need to put the tour guide on board. I was saying if we maybe had a Destrudo, we could summon this out to be able to make the Curious with the Sabers, this, and the Destrudo. But I think I'm just going to keep it in my hand for now. Summon Block Dragon one more time by banishing all of these Earths. And then just use Dotscaper to summon himself out. And then just go into another Saryuja here. We don't need to really worry about making Curious this game, or this turn, since we already have our Glow Up Bulb secured. You know, Dante 2, Saryuja 1. We'll add back the graph and draw into 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, basically keeping that tour guide in our hand allows us to keep our hand advantage a little higher as we move through this turn. Gonna put that back, and we draw into Pot of Avarice, which is absolutely absurd. I'm gonna put back this other Block Dragon 2 here, since I don't think we'll need that. Now we can use Gallus the Star Beast. We'll mill a card. We mill the Giant Rex, which is amazing. And then here we can sort of debate on whether or not we want to use the Pot of Avarice. That can put us back the Dangers to reuse later, the Cherubini and the Saryuja, and the Dante. So we don't even need to put back a lot of cards to our main deck. So let's use the Pot of Avarice, and let's put back these 3 extra deck cards. And we'll go ahead and put back these 2 Dangers into the main deck, because drawing those off of that would not be too tragic, if you ask me, because we can still make a rank 3 with this Destrudo and the, the Gigante. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck here and see what we can draw into. We draw into a Graph and a Mathematician. So definitely could have been better draws there, but again, we just kind of got unlucky. And that seems to be the theme of me playing this deck sometimes. So from here, we'll go ahead and special summon Gigantes by banishing Giant Rex. Giant Rex will summon itself, then we use Glow Up Bulb to mill a card. We mill Libic. And Libic we can actually use here to summon this Graph from our hand. And this will get summoned out, of course. Don't want to forget that effect. And then we can link these into the Naturia Beast. And then from here, it's just a matter of me not screwing up this entire combo. Which I could do very, very easily, trust me. We can use this to make a Leviair here, since I plan to use this to make an Avermax this turn, since we have more level 3s readily accessible. So let's go ahead and overlay these into a Leviair. And we can also make another Dante again, too, which is also kind of busted about the whole, you know, Pot of Avarice thing. We could just remake that Dante to mill more cards. But of course, doing that means we need to banish our Fossil Dyna. And then we'll banish the Dotscaper and the Glow Up Bulb. And then from here, we'll use Destrudo on the Gigantes. And then go ahead and overlay, not overlay, but link rather. Yeah, we'll link into the BLS. We'll link into the BLS and then link these 2 off into Avermax. And I kind of got weirded out for a second because I saw Saryuja was still in my extra deck. I'm like, did I not make the second one yet? But we definitely Definitely did. Now we'll summon the Block Dragon by banishing all of these. Summon that out there. And then use the effect of Leviair last here. Be able to summon out the Fossil Dyna just like that. So, protected in the battle phase. Protect from card effects. Or destruction by card effects. And we have the Nat Beast with the Mathman to follow it all up. And for turn, we're drawing a Nessie. The one of Nessie. So, pretty productive test hand there. We ended up seeing card destruction and the Pot of Avarice, so really allowing for an interesting turn, if you ask me. So let's go ahead and shuffle up and do another test hand. All right, so I shuffled up the deck here again, did a quick pile shuffle again as well. Let's draw into an opening hand here and see what we can do. Drawing into Mathman again. Like, I keep drawing this Mathman. Like, no complaints, obviously, but it is a bit strange that I just keep drawing this most loyal card. I wish Tour Guide would be this loyal. Feels bad. But either way, we'll use the Mathematician here. And of course, we're going to dump the O-Lion, get that free level 3 token, get ourselves right into a Cherubini. No problem. I'll cut the deck real quick, even though we're just going to be going back in. That's just a force of habit for me at this point. Then we can use Cherubini here to be able to send Libic, or not send Libic rather, but still actually send Graph here. Just so we can deck then these BAs out of our deck. So we'll use Graph, summon out Libic, and then we'll special summon Farfa. We don't actually have to summon it to zone that Cherubini points to, since they're all Burning Abyss monsters on the field. And then we'll overlay into Dante. And sometimes I actually like using Dante to detach Libic to summon the Seer from hand, because the extenders sort of multiply at that point, and we sort of multiply what we're getting on the board. Mill Card Destruction, Foolish, and Tsuchinoko, so that would be the equivalent to milling Sekka's Lights, I suppose. We'll use Libic here to special summon this from our hand. So with this given hand, we kind of got unlucky and didn't see any other extenders and didn't mill too good off this Dante. But this is sort of important because it allows us to sort of bring up the plan B for this deck, if you will. So essentially what I would do at this point is link everything here off into a copy of the Appaloosa. And Appaloosa will have 3 counters. And then, of course, Seer Dante. The Dante into the Seer, Seer into the Dante. And then I would ditch the Seer, of course, to be able to overlay into a copy of Beatrice. Now, this isn't the greatest plan B in this case, because we happen to hard open the Farfa as well. So not a whole lot we can do about that, but of course we can still use this Dante next turn, or this Beatrice rather, to be able to dump any monster really from our deck to the grave, which could prove to be very, very helpful. Any card really, and we could possibly use that to make a comeback for next turn. So that is a rather short test hand, but it's still a test hand nonetheless. And showing what to do in a situation where you at least get Cherubini and Dante, and maybe one extender, just, you know, one monster short essentially from being able to getting into that Saryuja. And that's usually where I go. It's just going right into the Appaloosa. Sometimes you can go into Avermax instead if you don't have Appaloosa as sort of an option, where you would just link off the Dante and the other monster into like a Cerberus, and then link off the Cerberus and the Cherubini into Avermax. And then, you know, of course, you know, summon out your Beatrice, etc., afterwards. And then you have a Beatrice sort of that's protected from the battle phase, and a 3k untargetable monster that your opponent has to worry about getting over. In some cases, that might be better. In other cases, the Appaloosa might be better to be able to provide, you know, a plethora of monster negations. All right, so I did a quick shuffle there. No pile shuffle this time around. Let's see what we can draw into. Mathematician, Gilasaurus, Jackalope, and Wielder. Double Jackalope in this opening hand. I'm still going to start with the Mathematician. Like, this card is just glued to my hand. I just don't understand it. Like, I would love to open a tour guide. Like, the card came to 2. It'd be nice to actually, like, draw that card at some point. I know they're in my deck. I know this is a fact. But yeah, we're just going to do the standard rundown here. Cherubini, and then sending the Graph. Again, if the Graph gets ashed, in most cases, it really depends on the hand. Like, if we had, like, 2 Block Dragons in our hand, a Destrudo, and maybe a Gigantes, the Graph getting ashed really isn't the biggest of our problems. It's the rest of our hand that's so bad That is the problem. The fact that we couldn't even complete a Dante if the Graph resolved. But if our hand is still really good, even if Graph does get ashed, we're not in that big of, you know, an ordeal. We can still try to combo. We can still get into Dante, you know, resolving Gilasaurus, special summoning the Wielder, milling 3, and just going on from there. So it's not always the end of the world. I'm going to summon the Wielder out while we control the level 3, and then we'll go ahead and make Dante and mill 3. Fossil Dyna, Foolish Burial, and Gigantes. Not the best mills. I suppose that would be a Sekka's Light in the graveyard this time around, of course. Would be able to use it as a mulligan option, but not that big of a deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the Danger. Jackalope. End up hitting the middle. It hits a Jackalope. Man, I'm just so unlucky with these Dangers, man. I don't know what it is. It's just, this entire recording, I haven't hit a single Danger. Alright, we're going to use the other Jackalope again. Odd, even. Let's see if that trend continues. Odd, even. Alright, they hit the Gilasaurus, so it's a nice trade-off there. We draw an additional card. It is a Mathman. Now we'll just go ahead and link into that first Saryuja here. And go ahead and resolve our chain. You know, Dante 3, Seer 2, Saryuja 1. Have 2 cards in our hand here. Gilasaurus, Gallus, Farfa, and Destrudo. Definitely putting back the Farfa, definitely putting back the Seer, and I guess we'll also put back the Mathematician as well, since we don't really need him over the Gilasaurus anyways. We'll use the Gallus here. We'll mill a card. We end up milling the Tracker. We'll special summon out the Gilasaurus, and checking our graveyard, we still don't have access to Block Dragon, which is kind of interesting at this point, that we still haven't seen it. I guess we could, you know, before we link into this next Saryuja, is make a, with these 3, make a Curious, dump it that way, but at that point, unless we mill really good off of the Curious, we're not going to be able to make a second Saryuja, I don't think. So I'm just going to link everything here, wipe the slate clean, if you will, and go ahead and go into another one. We're just going to use its effect now, add back the Graph this time, draw into Jar of Avarice, the Serpent Sky Slasher, the Wielder, whose effect we already did use this turn, so that's fine. That's an easy put back target, so we'll put back those 3. Now, we have Gizmek. We still don't have Block Dragon, which is just baffling to me at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and use Pot of Avarice to put back these 3 extra deck monsters. And one other thing I'm also noticing is that we can put back Saryujas to essentially play 3 Saryuja, which is pretty hilarious. And we'll put back, let's see here, what else do we want to do? We could put back the Fossil Dyna, and we could put back a copy of Gallus as well, just so I'd be fine with drawing either of those cards. Obviously, don't really want to draw the Fossil Dyna, but at least put us back in the main deck, put it back in the main deck to be able to draw off of a Block Dragon if we do end up drawing one off of this, which hopefully we do, because if we do, I think we're in an okay position here, actually. I mean, I don't know. We need to draw really good off of this because the rest of our hand is rather grim, to say the least. We have a Destrudo, we have a Gizmek Orochi, so draw Dotscaper and Gallus. So we'll take those. I guess we'll take those 100%. We have 1 spell left in the deck, so the odds of this Gallus going through are pretty high. We mill a Mathematician. We could use Saryuja here to special summon out this Dotscaper, because we don't have Block Dragon at this point. We've drawn 10 cards, milled 3, and still don't have a Block Dragon. So that is just kind of it's just kind of funny, I guess. So we'll summon out Dotscaper. Then we'll use Destrudo here, targeting the Dotscaper, I suppose, make that a level 6. Only we had a hard way to make the Beatrice here. And then I guess we can just link all 3 of these into a Curious. We're doing this here at the very end, which is kind of interesting. And then we can use the Dotscaper effect as Chainlink 2, essentially. And then use the effect of Curious here to dump Block Dragon. And then we'll mill 3. hopefully we mill a glow up bulb as well, and maybe a giant Rex. That would be really, really nice. But we don't end up milling those. We mill those 3. Then we'll resolve the Block Dragon here. Block Dragon is going to add Gigantes and the Fossil Dyna. And then we'll use the Rhino here to dump Edgemp Sabers. Now, we might actually be able to make... I was going to say we can make it Curious, but we just literally just made it Curious. So that is 100% out of the question. We could technically make another Saryuja since we did put one back in the extra deck. Thanks to that Pot of Avarice. So I guess that's an option. So I think I'm just going to summon this Block Dragon and banish, of course, 3 more Earths. And let's go ahead, the first time summoning Block Dragon, actually, albeit. And I'm just going to go ahead and go into a 3rd Saryuja. This is very weird. This is literally never, ever happened because it literally couldn't happen. So, I'm going to draw into Block Dragon, Wielder, Card Destruction, and the Graph. So, overall, not the best draws, but still could kind of get us here, actually. So I was thinking we can kind of keep the Card Destruction, but it really doesn't make too much sense to do so. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep the Block Dragon instead, because the way I was thinking about it, we could use like the Saryuja effect to be able to special summon the Wielder, and then the Sabers could stack anything back to the top of our deck. Then we can make the Leviair. But, you know, that is already getting 2 cards out of our hand, and one of the remaining cards would just be the Card Destruction. So it would be just Card Destructioning for 1, and it would just draw into the card we stacked off of the Saber. So that really doesn't make any sense to me, in my opinion. So suppose the only thing we can really do here is summon Block Dragon by banishing, of course, 3 more Earths. Just like that. Summoning Gizmek Orochi. Banishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. You can overlay into, of course, Dingirsu. This will be basically a replacement for the Avermax in this case, providing the protection for our Pachyscephalo. And let's see if we ended up banishing the Glow Up Bulb. We didn't end up banishing the Glow Up Bulb off the Gizmek, which is interesting. It's kind of funny that we still haven't seen the one of pesky Glow Up Bulb. Maybe I play more than one Glow Up Bulb in the future, just because seeing that card is always nice, but these are just some ideas that I have for the future. Now I'm just going to summon out Block Dragon one more time, just because if they do have some sort of negation for our Dingirsu, I don't want our board to be completely outed. So lastly, we'll just use Saryuja here to special summon the Dyna. So we have a protected Dynalock here, just missing Naturia Beast, but again, like, it could be worse. We just got unlucky, and a Glow Up Bulb is literally the next card, so that's pretty funny. So yeah, I'm gonna shuffle up here, and we're gonna go ahead and do another test hand. But yeah, like I said, there's so many other ideas I want to try to go back to with this deck now that the ban list has ushered in some mandatory change. And like I said, one of those things is possibly trying to go back and try a build with Mali and Sulkius. Maybe go back to playing more Dangers now, just because we need more draw power. Now that Sekaz is gone, of course. So, I mean, it's not gone, but it might as well be, because I did contemplate for a time just playing one Sekaz Light. Because, of course, if you mill it, it has a graveyard effect. If you see it, it's just a Pot of Greed. So, I don't know. Maybe I end up just going back to that. I don't know. That could be an option. Let's see if we end up opening that one of Mathman. No, we don't, but we end up opening the... Not one of Mathman, but 3 of. But we opened up a Tour Guide, so that's pretty cool. Tour Guide should allow us to get pretty far ahead. And one thing I can say, though, about this video so far is this Pot of Avarice that we've been drawing has been, like, so clutch late game off of Saryuja. Almost a little more clutch than, you know, seeing a Sekaz Light, because we literally put back a Saryuja, and that allowed us to, you know, dig even further into the main deck, which is crazy. So Fiendish Rhino Warrior will activate here. We'll dump the Edgemp Sabers to the graveyard, and then we'll use Cherubini, of course, to again send the Graph. And that, of course, will summon the Seer. Send the Graph, Seer. Where is this pesky Seer? Where is he? There he is. Alright, so from here, we're going to summon out Gilasaurus. And we'll go ahead and overlay into the one of the best rank 3s ever printed, Dante Mill 3. If I could find my Dante, where is it? There it is, he's hiding. Let's go ahead and mill 3. Mill a Fossil Dyna, a Danger Jackalope, and a Tracker. So here I'm going to special summon the Gigantes by banishing this, special summon out this Gilasaurus, and just go ahead and overlay, or not overlay. I keep getting these words mixed up, man. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Then we'll use Seer Dante, shenanigans. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we go. We're drawing Block Dragon now. That's nice. Then we'll get rid of these. Yeah, we'll get rid of all those. And then we'll use Sneck here. Hopefully Sneck will go through. Maybe one of our dangers will actually go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. Roll a 2. And the Sneck. Okay. This is literally... This has to be some of the worst possible luck that I've ever gotten in a test hand video. I don't know. But we're rolling with it. We're rolling with it. We'll use Staryuja here to special summon the Dotscaper. And then we'll link all of these off into Staryuja 2.0. We'll use Dante Chainlink 3, Dotscaper 2, Staryuja 1. Getting more resources to our hand. Draw a Glow-Up Bulb, Gizmek, Farfa, and Pot of Avarice. So that's really good. We'll take that. We'll take that, sure. So hands down, I think I'm going to put back these two, and then I'm going to put back the Gizmek Orochi. As much as I really don't want to, I'm definitely going to put that back. Then from here, we have our Pachycephalo in the graveyard as it stands. So we don't really have a way to gain access to it this turn unless we draw into some level 3s. We do have a Sabers in our graveyard that I don't think we've used yet, so that could possibly come in clutch. But I'm just going to use Staryuja's effect here, basically declaring that we're not going to be using his effect to bring out the Fossil Dyna this turn. And then I'm going to summon this Block Dragon and banish these, and then link all of these off into a copy of Curious. We'll use... Let's see here. Since we don't really care about Block Dragon getting Ash at this point, since Dyna's in the graveyard, we'll just use this 2, this 1. And then we'll go ahead and add 2 copies of Gigantes. And then we'll use the Curious effect to be able to send any monster. I'm going to send the Sea Archiver, actually. Or send any card, but I'm just going to use the Sea Archiver here. Because that will actually help secure our rank 3 play. Edgem Sabers and the Archiver. Then we'll cut the deck and mill 1, 2, 3. Milling Seer Graph and Olion. And now it's actually nice and a bit safer to use this Pot of Avarice now that Seer and Graph are out of the deck, so we don't have to worry about drawing those. I'm going to use the Sabers now to be able to summon itself, and then stack back this Gigantes, and then we'll use Sea Archiver here. And then from this point, we'll summon out the Gigantes by banishing the Fossil Dyna. We want to make sure we get that out of our grave in time. And then from here, we'll link the Staryuja off and the token into a copy of Nightmare Cerberus, just for an Earth target. From here, we'll link these 2 off into Avermax. And then we'll use Glow-Up Bulb's effect to be able to mill a Gigantes, of course, that we stacked off of the Edgem Sabers. And then we'll, not overlay, but synchro, again, I'm getting the words mixed up, into Nat Beast. We'll overlay now into a copy of the Leviair, the Sea Dragon. And then we'll summon out Block Dragon before we use Leviair's effect. And summon out Block Dragon. And then, because obviously once we use Leviair, we'll be locked into no special summoning. And then we'll summon out the Fossil Dyna. And then lastly, we can resolve the Avarice if we want. We'll put back pretty much all the extra deck monsters we can. And I guess we could put Seer back into the main deck. We could also put Dotscaper back, or we could put back a Tour Guide. Let's just put back Tour Guide just for free advantage in a following turn. We're really only putting 1 card back into the main deck here and drawing 2. So that's always nice. We just draw into more extenders to help push for a game. The following turn, they do happen to clear the Fossil Dyna or whatever. We have some, extra cards to work with. Try to help seal the deal. We draw into Farfa and Rhino Warrior. So, not terrible. We have recycled most of our extra deck in the process, putting even back Curious, which is amazing. So, yeah, ending the standard board there without Sekka's Light, as you can see. Not really hindering the deck too much, other than when, just a little bit of consistency hit to it. Yeah, that's going to do for that test hand. Let's go ahead and shuffle up and do one more test hand for this. All right, so the deck has been shuffled here. Let's go ahead and draw into our last hand of this video. Also should mention it's pretty late at night here, so if I'm a little tired, I do apologize. If at least I sound a little tired, I apologize. But yeah, anyways, drawing into that Mathematician again. We drew a Glow Up Bulb and the Sea Archiver with the Gilasaurus. And if there's one thing I can say, Gilasaurus and Mathman have been absolutely clutch this entire video. Same thing with Jar of Avarice, not to mention that card will definitely find its way into the main deck of the final build, at least before I profile one. So, again, this is just so repetitive. I'll just go through this as fast as I possibly can. Of course, Seer for Graph for Seer. Same thing every single time. Like clockwork, special summon out Gilasaurus, special summon out the Archiver. While we can, we'll shuffle the deck a bit, make sure our Dante gets some those good mills. We'll overlay with the Earth, just so we can get the Earth Engrave if we happen to mill a Block Dragon. Then we'll mill 1, 2, and 3. We'll use the Rhino Warrior effect now to be able to send Edgem Sabers. And, one thing I might actually start doing is using Block Dragon's effect towards the very end. And the reason for this is because, like I said earlier, one of the problems I was noticing after resolving a first Saryuja with Block Dragon is if you draw dangers and you just don't resolve your block, like you resolve Block Dragon to be able to, add to chain link blocks and be able to search out key cards that you won't, mill or draw into later, like Gigantes and Fossil Dyna. You draw into dangers. Dangers are very good at help, removing cards that you'd rather have in your graveyard than your hand, and also helping you draw cards. So, like, once you resolve Block Dragon, you really don't want to be trying to resolve dangers, because then it forces you to have to try to be able to set up Leviator, which sometimes you can't always do, because you might not have enough level 3 fodder, essentially, to work with. So I just figured I'd bring that random tidbit up. So I'm going to special summon Gigantes, banish the Gallus, and then we'll overlay. I did it again. Link. We're linking into the Saryuja, and then we're using all of our effects. All of these effects. This should also be banished. Sorry, Sea Archiver, you are gone to the Shadow Realm. And yeah, not bad actually. Gonna put this back. Gonna put this back, and gonna put this back. Those are some good level 3 Earths, but we have to pick and choose. We'll use the snack. Let's see if a danger will go through this video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roll the dice. And it is a 3. Let's see. It is the Block Dragon. All right. It will go through, and we get ourselves a Gallus. Don't mill a Jar of Avarice. Nice. Things looking a little better here. I like it. Now we will... Actually, we don't need to. We don't need to here. And I'm also going to use the special summon effect of Saryuja here. But we can make Curious, but we already have Glow Up Bulb, so we technically don't need to make the Curious. I'm just going to link all of these off into a Saryuja. The second one, Saryuja 2.0. Saryuja Harder. We'll add back the graph, and then we'll draw 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll put back Gigantes, we'll put back Rhino Warrior, we'll put back Graph, just like that. Then we'll use the effect of Gallus and mill a card. It's Tracker. So at this point, we're pretty much free to make a Leviator. We have the Leviator secured. So this can get linked off for something, and we can also use the special summon effect, which is great. I love to be able to do that. So we're going to need to summon this Block Dragon, though. We'll banish this, and we'll banish the Scaper as well. And then from here, we can link these 3 off into Curious. And we'll use Curious Chainlink 2, Block Dragon Chainlink 1, just so we can Chainlink block. Yeah, I think we can make that work. So we'll use this effect to send the Giant Rex there, And then we'll add Pachycephalo, and we'll add the Gigantes. And then the other effect of Curious will activate. I thought it might miss timing, just because we're resolving these effects this way, but, you know, it is a if effect and not a when, so it should go through. Then we'll mill those 3, 2 Tour Guides and a Gizmek. That's strange. But we'll summon the Gigantes here, banish the Tour Guide, or not the Tour Guide, the Saryuja. We use a Glow Up Bulb here, mill a Card Destruction. We don't need that card anymore anyway, so not too big of a deal. Summon Nat Beast. Gonna overlay here into the Leviair. And actually, I'm not gonna overlay into Leviair just yet. That I think would be a bit of a mistake. I'm gonna summon Block Dragon, actually, banishing these, not these 3, these 3. We'll summon this out. And I do have my zone placement mixed up a bit here. Always a little embarrassing to admit that, but we do need the zone open to be able to summon out a Nightmare Cerberus, so we can I did it again. So we can link these 2 into the Avermax. And then once that has been done, we can overlay into the Leviair, because we will need that zone open to make the Leviair live. Now we can special summon the Block Dragon by banishing the Fossil Dyna, banishing the Cerberus, and banishing the Glow Up Bulb. And then detaching here lastly, we'll detach the Earth Monster to be able to summon out the Fossil Dyna. So again, basically pulling off the same board 2 turns in a row. Granted, we did see Tour Guide this turn actually, so really allowing for a strong opening. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. We went through sort of like a wide range of hands with this video, which is nice. Showing some bad hands, showing some good hands, showing some really good hands, and playing through many different, like, you know, play lines, I guess. This deck definitely has a lot of them. Now that Sekka's is basically at 1 and sort of unplayable for this deck, at least for the time being, allowing me to experiment with some options, because beforehand I was feeling kind of complacent with the deck, feeling like not much needed to be changed, but definitely eager and willing to make changes now, since we really have to and we have no other choice. But one thing's for sure, definitely loving the Pot of Avarice. Foolish Burial just seems like a no-brainer. That card just helps you go and get amazing cards to your graveyard whenever you need them. The Card Destruction is the only thing I'm iffy on. That's something I might replace. I'm not sure what I'll replace it with. It might just be another Danger. I'm not sure, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this video and wanting to see one, so I thank you for your patience. Like I said, I'll probably be doing another test stand video with this deck, using a Mali build, and changing it up a bit more, of course, with the new ban list changes. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. I'll be trying to get some other post ban list videos up too, of course, for Mermail and things like that, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, WinterKill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one.